Hey everybody, before I get started, I just want to mention a couple of ways that you can engage with me on a more personal level. I have a few avenues set up and I keep focusing on one, and I figured why don't I make a short little video talking about all of them real quick before we get into these episodes. So first thing, Patreon. There's a link in the episode description, in every episode description to the Patreon, as well as a video on the feed called Major Announcement that has all the details of what each tier offers and how much they cost. I implore you to check that out. I offer a lot of cool shit for my patrons. Second thing, the Discord channel. There's also a Discord link in the episode description and in every episode description. I have multiple channels set up there for each show that I'm covering, and it's a great way to just engage with me. I have a channel set up for MMA talk as well. I'm a big MMA fan, so if you're an MMA fan, you can check that out as well. There's a link to the Discord in the episode description. And then lastly, the Facebook and Twitter. Social media. Follow me on there. I post news on there. When I say news, I mean like, hey, I'm stopping covering this show. Hey, I'm starting covering this show. Let me know what you think about this. I do live watches of things on Facebook where like I'll check in and say I'm watching so-and-so show, and then I'll like live comment while I'm watching it, and that'll be cool if maybe you watch that show too and you want to watch along with me, or you're watching it later and you will see my thoughts, which are usually pretty entertaining because I'm usually pretty high when I'm writing them. So check out all those links in each episode description, and let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about episode 1 and 2 of Netflix's A Murder at the End of the World, but this time in non-spoilery fashion. So, even though I absolutely love a good murder mystery, I kind of feel like a good murder mystery is kind of hard to find. I find most of them to be pretty much the same, swapping out the characters and the mystery itself, but keeping the same structure and generally the same tone, making them either predictable, virtually indistinguishable from one another, or in the worst case, both. And I think that that was kind of my biggest concern coming into this show. But the odds of getting something different from your standard fare substantially increased when I saw that the showrunners were Zal Bamanglich and Britt Marling, the pair behind Netflix's The OA. I didn't see The OA, and I didn't hear great things, but I did hear that it was pretty fucking weird. So I came into this with the hope that these two could bring a unique experience to a genre that I think could kind of use a little bit of an injection of life. The cast didn't jump out to me. I don't recognize most of the names. But after watching the first 2 episodes, everyone seems to be pretty good. In the lead, you have Emma Corrin as Darby Hart. Emma's best known for playing the young version of Princess Di on The Crown, another show that I haven't seen. If you're in the Discord group, though, you know that I've already expressed interest in The Crown. So finding out that she's in it has pushed me even further toward it because I'm really loving her in this. I don't know what it is. I can't quite put my finger on it just yet, but she's incredibly captivating, and you like immediately find yourself drawn to her. You're sympathetic to her. You want her to win. You like her. Like, she's brilliant. She's analytical. She's constantly suspicious of other people's motivations, and she's got a smart mouth. You know, I see why I like her now. She's just like me. That's probably what it is. People just be talking, and she would look at him like, "You sound like you full of shit." Like that's how she just stares at people, and I can really appreciate judgmental faces directed at people who deserve to be judged. Again, I really enjoy this character. I think this actress is doing a great job. I don't want to say she's carrying the show because that makes it sound like the show is bad, but she's doing some heavy fucking lifting. And again, it's not because the show is bad. It's just because, 1, she's the main character. 2, she's that good. But 3, she's getting so much screen time. So she has to be good, right? If she's not good, it's going to bring the whole thing down. So that's what I mean when I say she's doing a lot of heavy lifting. Clive Owen is the most recognizable name here. I've been a fan of his since the early 2000s. Inside Man, Children of God, Closer. I saw Closer like the early 2000s. I was in college. It was nice to see him here, especially since I haven't seen him in a while. He's been working, just not stuff that I've seen. He plays a tech billionaire named Andy Ronson. And I think that now's a good time to talk about what the show's about. So you probably already know it's a murder mystery, but what's the premise? So They use the entire first episode to kind of lay out the premise, and it ends with the death that I believe is going to drive the narrative through the remainder of the season. So Clive Owen's Andy, he's hosting a meeting of the minds at this brand new hotel in Iceland. It's a very beautiful design. It looks like it's meant for this sort of thing. Like, it's not like you're a skyscraper hotel. It's like, it looks like it's got like, well, one of the characters' rooms is room 11. I would wager it's got no more than 15 rooms. It looks like it's maybe like one level. It's like circular, very interesting design. It's in the middle of nowhere. It looks like it's sitting on like a sheet of ice that's covering an ocean, and then you plop this place on top of it. That's what it looks like. But it's beautiful in Iceland. And Andy's invited all sorts of brilliant minds and creatives to this lavish hotel in the middle of nowhere to essentially brainstorm ideas on combating climate change, which it's a very admirable thing to do, but it seemed like a very very simple motivation to get people out there. Like, yeah, let's go work on climate change. But how you get them there, I think clearly wasn't very important, and I don't think that it is either, honestly. As long as you get the people, everything that happens once they're there is of the utmost importance. But when you're doing these murder mystery things like this, getting how you get the people there, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. So Emma Corrin's Darby ends up there by impressing Andy's head of security at a book reading, which is how the series opens. So Darby's an amateur detective. Her father was a coroner, I guess, a medical examiner. And he frequently took her on crime scenes when she was far too young to be around dead bodies. And we see these experiences through flashbacks, and they serve to inform us on how Darby is so good at finding and analyzing evidence at crime scenes, and also why she's such an obsessive and can't let shit go. And it's through these experiences that Darby becomes obsessed with a specific Jane Doe that she names the Silver Doe due to silver earrings left at the crime scene that she believes don't belong to the victim. They don't fit the victim. What's going to happen with the Silver Doe case will presumably play out throughout the season, but whatever that is, it prompts her to write a book about it. And that's how we end up at the book reading that's at the beginning of the series, and that's how she comes to impress Andy's head of security and get invited to the event in Iceland. It's also through these flashbacks that we see how she met her ex-boyfriend and co-detective, Bill, played by Harris Dickinson. He's also done a bunch of stuff I haven't seen, but this will be the first of 2 consecutive projects with him that I'll be watching, as he's set to co-star in The Iron Claw with Zac Efron and Jeremy Allen White next month. I'll be watching that, so I'll be seeing him again soon. I don't know why I fucking... There we go. So anyway, I like the rapport between the two of them, Darby and Bill. They have great chemistry. I also like how I kind of feel like I'm not sure if their relationship was because they genuinely loved one another or because they solved mysteries together like Freddie and Daphne. Like, I look forward to that idea being explored throughout the season, and it might not be, but I found myself wondering that because every time we see them together, all they talk about is whatever murder they're looking into. And I thought, like, if they don't have a murder, would they even be fucking with one another? Like, who knows? I hope they explore that. There's a fairly significant surrounding cast of characters as well in the hotel, most of which haven't gotten much screen time yet, but Britt Marling, one of the co-creators, she plays Lee Anderson, which is one of the major characters there. She's a hacker that Darby idolizes, and she's also Andy's wife. She's clearly going to play a significant role. Since this is a non-spoiler video, I'll get into like theories and shit like that next week when I talk about episode 3. Yes, that is a spoiler in the sense of like I'm going to do full coverage of this show, so yeah. Anyway, lastly, another important aspect of this genre is the tone. And after I watched the first 2 episodes, I read Alan Sepinwall's review, which is something I rarely do. I don't like to read other people's thoughts before I give my own. It's just a thing where I don't want to feel like other people's thoughts are influencing mine. But a push notification for Alan Sepinwall's review came through at my phone while I was wrapping up like my notes on this episode. And I'm glad it did, because he described the tone so perfectly that I'm just going to quote him directly, and then that saves me the trouble of doing it. You know, I've got a lot of times where I feel like I've described things really well, like very eloquently. I got a fairly decent vocabulary. I'm like, I can do this. He did it perfectly, so I'm going to let Alan Sepinwall do it. So he said, and I quote, that the show is like an Agatha Christie locked room mystery cross-pollinated with some Stieg Larsson Nordic noir, complete with a socially awkward hacker heroine in Darby. And that is spot on. Like, if that sounds like something you'd watch, this is that. Like, if you're unfamiliar with Stieg Larsson or haven't read his books, y'all know I don't be reading. He's the guy who wrote the Millennium series that resulted in the series of movies that started with The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, starring Rooney Mara. So if you've seen those movies, yeah, picture that mixed with an Agatha Christie novel, and that's this show. It's a perfect description, and it's the Swedish noir tone that really pulls me in. It's the same thing that pulled me into the original Let the Right One film. Same thing, very this Swedish noir thriller vibe, like the same thing here. Like, terrible and mysterious shit happening against a pure white snowy backdrop. Always compelling TV, you guys. Always. It works every time. Was it 28 days later? It doesn't even matter what it is. It could be a monster movie. I hate monster movies. You put it in Sweden at nighttime in the snow, that shit gonna bang. I'm telling you. And then you throw in the high-tech shit, and you've really hooked me. So there's a lot of commentary so far on the impact of AI in these first 2 episodes. Andy calls it alternative intelligence rather than artificial. There's a great scene early on where Darby gets invited to Andy's retreat via his AI assistant, and I just made that scene sound way less cool than it actually was. That scene was fucking sweet, you guys. Like, it was a sick fucking scene. So I would say, like, yeah, I'm enjoying this show. I'm in. I'm gonna do full coverage. I'll be back next week to talk about episode 3. Full spoilers, analysis, theories, all that good shit. So let me know what you thought in the comments about the first 2 episodes. I'll see you guys next week for episode 3. And until then, peace.